Hey! Don't make me chase you, man. Come here a second. Got an ID on you, man?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead and set that down somewhere.
Let's walk back to the hotel, you know?
Where are you from? Drink some alcohol tonight?
Yeah, I was just walking back.
How much you have to drink?
Hotel, yeah.
What brings you into town?
So, if you want to talk about it, a lot of the Israelis, Assad, I don't know if you guys know about Palestine. I know you guys busted the old massage parlor down there. You thought like a couple girls giving a little rub and tug for 60 bucks.
What are you? Like, you about to tell us you're some sort of like white supremacist or something?
No, hell no.
Why are we talking about different ethnicities in this town?
I'm interested in your line of thought on, you said, talking about Palestine and Israelis. Finish your thought. I'm genuinely curious at this point.
I appreciate you guys talking to me. I really do.
You got any weapons on you or anything, man?
No, sir.
Right.
No, sir.
Place your hands on the front of that vehicle for me.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And welcome back to the Civil Rights Lawyer channel. You know, one of my goals here is to help people understand the most basic constitutional rights at play when citizens interact with their government, mostly law enforcement. But that can be very complicated. In fact, these basic constitutional rules confuse lawyers, they confuse judges, and they certainly confuse police officers. And so sometimes it's these simple video clips that show the interactions that we can break down that are very useful in instructing these sorts of constitutional rights. So let's take a look at this footage that was just submitted to me by a guy in Ohio showing an interaction that he had late at night with the Chillicothe, Ohio Police Department. Let's go through it and I'll explain the rights at play as we go along. This footage comes to us from Bud Swayze, who is an Ohio native. He had just returned from a mission trip to Southeast Asia to provide drinking water to less fortunate families. He had this welcome home dinner with friends at a local restaurant there in Chillicothe, and he stayed in a hotel near this gas station where this interaction occurred. So here is the initial 911 call that brought police to see Bud.
911 emergency?
Hi,
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're going in and out. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm a worker down here at Dutch's BP gas station.
Okay.
I have a guy up here, he's drunkard and mofo, bugging my customers, and we had some kids out here, he went and bugged them, and they took all out, but he's still here, he's out front of my store.
Okay, do you have a description of him?
Yeah, he's a white dude, got short hair, he's wearing a black shirt with, Bart Simpson on the front of it, and like some decals on the back.
Okay.
And he just walked around the back of my store, so I couldn't see him. But I think he's wearing like black pants.
Do you think can he walk there, or is he in a vehicle?
He walked here.
Okay.
He definitely walked here from one of the hotels behind. But
okay. And what was your name?
Black pants.
Go to listen somebody over to check for him.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, bye-bye.
When determining whether constitutional rights have been violated, one of the most important things to do is to find out what information was available to the police. A lot of times that's just going to be the 911 recordings. It's going to be what the dispatcher told to the police officers who arrived on the scene. Sometimes it can be a police officer's prior knowledge of an individual, but most of the time it's going to be like it is here. All this police officer who's arriving knows is what he's relayed by dispatch. So that's why it's important to listen to the 911 call. So you heard exactly what the officer was told. Now you will see exactly what the officer then observed for himself, which is the second part of the analysis.
Hey! Don't make me chase you, man. Come here a second. What's going on tonight?
I was walking back to my hotel.
Okay. Down here for some more alcohol tonight?
Yeah.
Okay. You got an ID on you, man?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead and set that down somewhere.
So the officer arrives at the scene, and the first thing he does is confront the suspect, and he asks him for ID. Now remember, there's two different scenarios in an initial confrontation between police and a suspect. One is a consensual or so-called consensual encounter, which is just like going up to and talking to somebody, and the person is free to leave or reasonably believes that they are free to leave. Therefore, the Fourth Amendment is not implicated. The second scenario is you have an investigatory detention. Somebody is detained against their will. They are not free to leave. Oftentimes, that is triggered when a police officer demands identification, demands ID. This officer just straight up goes up to the guy and asks him for ID. Would a guy in the suspect's shoes believe that he is free to leave at this point? Sometimes there can be factual disputes on those grounds. But the important thing I think to remember here is that this officer did not go to find out additional information either from the suspect or from any complaining witness prior to demanding that ID. So are we at a detention at this point? I would say so. But let's continue watching and you can see for yourself.
Yes, sir.
We got a call on you early here. You were causing a disturbance?
No, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, you're good. Looks like he had to close the store for you and everything, man. He didn't want you coming back in there.
Yeah, no, I was just walking back around.
Okay. Let's see your ID, man.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that, sir. Let's walk back to the hotel, you know?
Where are you from?
This is definitely not looking consensual at this point. One thing to take into account is another police officer arrives and he's sort of surrounded and they have their lights on. They're shining on this guy. So he's surrounded by multiple law enforcement officers and he said, let's have that ID. So it doesn't sound like it's optional. So I would say definitely this guy is being detained at this point. Therefore, the Fourth Amendment is implicated here. So what is necessary for this to be constitutional? Well, this police officer has to have reasonable suspicion that this guy has committed some crime. Now that does probably exist here because that's not a difficult standard for police to meet. There was a call. The description during the 911 call matches this guy, and the substance of the call probably does fit some criminal charge in the state of Ohio. But remember that the Fourth Amendment says that police have to act reasonably. So while they can perform an investigatory detention of this guy, that doesn't mean that they can just grab him, put him in handcuffs, doesn't mean that they can beat him, doesn't mean that they can do all sorts of things. They have to act reasonably based on the facts, such as what is the reasonable suspicion that they have? What sort of a crime? Is it a serious crime? Let's continue watching and let's see if the police act reasonably.
Southern Ohio.
Okay. Drink some alcohol tonight?
Yeah, I was just walking back.
How much you had to drink?
So here we have the police officer asking potentially incriminating questions. So this happens all the time. You get pulled over in a traffic stop, a police officer will ask you questions that if you answer, it could incriminate you. Have you been drinking tonight? Now, do they have to read you your Miranda rights first and advise you that you don't have to answer those questions because they may incriminate you? No. Why? Because you're not under arrest yet. So Miranda rights need to be read whenever somebody is both in custody and being interrogated. So here, where you have just an investigatory detention, yeah, the person may not be free to leave, but it hasn't reached the level yet where you're technically under arrest and in custody. So they can ask you questions still at this point, just like in a traffic stop. If you tell the officer you've had a 12-pack of beer, there's not going to be a suppression issue over Miranda there because it's not like you're in handcuffs back at the police station at this point. This guy, what could he say is, you know what, am I being detained? Am I free to leave? Do I have to answer that question? You can ask questions like that. Basically, keep your mouth shut, which is always a good idea when you're dealing with law enforcement.
So I'm just walking back.
How much have you had to drink?
I haven't drove. I haven't done that.
Didn't ask you that. I asked you how much you had to drink.
One White Claw.
Okay. So what happened when you were here earlier, man? There's some kids out here in the parking lot. You were vaping in the store. What was going on with that? You just having a bad night, or what's going on? Because like I said, we got a call on you earlier, okay? And you'd already left.
I apologize for what I said.
Who are you here with?
No, I'm just here by myself.
Buddy. You have a hotel at the Christopher, you said? right. What brings
So
you?
walking back to my hotel. Man.
What brings you into town? Anything in particular?
It's always the small town cops that go sideways with this. I mean, Rambo First Blood was a documentary, right? Is it any of their business why this guy's in town? No. Are they making it clear that he doesn't have to tell them why he's in town? No. Do they seem like they're about to drive him to the outskirts of town and drop him off? Yes.
Just trying to find out what your story is, man. Okay?
Yeah, no, I'm cool.
It's not a trick question.
No, we're cool. So if you want to talk about it, a lot of the Israelis, Assad, I don't know if you guys know about Palestine and stuff like that. There's a lot of foreign entities in your town. I know you guys busted the old massage parlor down there. You thought like a couple girls giving a little rub and tug for 60 fucking bucks. It was a big fucking bust.
What are you? Like, you about to tell us you're some sort of like white supremacist or some shit like that?
No, hell no.
Why are we talking about different ethnicities in this town?
Let me answer your question with another question. Why are you asking this drunk guy at a gas station in the middle of the night why he's in town? And then why are you getting personally offended by his answer? Is that any of your business? Is his opinion on whatever he's talking about a crime of any sort? No, it's not.
No.
And then tying that into a rub and tug massage parlor.
Right.
What was your first question? What led him to that, Kite?
I just want to know what the story was.
I was
Why he's in
literally just
town?
walking down the street.
So why are we talking about people of different ethnicities all of a sudden?
Exactly. He was just walking down the street. Remember a couple videos ago, I showed the video of the lady walking in Loveland, Colorado, I believe it was, where, yeah, I mean, she may be saying some bizarre things, but she's walking in a public place. She's not committing any crime. Yet the cops, for some reason, in these small towns, they have nothing better to do than stop and harass people like that. And it never ends well.
Where'd that come from? How is that tying into your story? We're just asking about you.
Right. No, I'm this little guy walking down the street. I was like, hey, I'm in town. Hey, where's a good restaurant? They told me Applebee's.
Okay.
B-Dub.
I'm interested in your line of thought on, you said, talking about Palestine and Israelis. Finish your thought. I'm genuinely curious at this point.
Well, I'm just saying.
How does that tie into you being in Chillicothe?
Yeah, I'm just walking down the street. I appreciate you guys talking to me. I really do.
You got any weapons on you or anything, man?
No, sir.
All right.
No, sir.
Place your hands on the front of that vehicle.
Yeah, yes, sir.
We're okay.
Just gonna pat you down for weapons, okay? No weapons, right? No knives, guns, bazookas?
No.
Do you have anything in your pockets at all considered illegal?
No.
This is really a perfect progression to teach this because we went from a consensual encounter, arguably, into an investigatory detention where the guy's not free to leave. And now not only is he not free to leave, but he's being searched. This is called a Terry frisk. And what police officers misunderstand, and everyone misunderstands, is that anytime a police officer interacts with somebody, they don't just get to frisk them for weapons because freedom is scary and they're just so scared, they're so afraid. No. There has to be some information that the individual is both armed and dangerous before the police can do that. Sometimes, if the person has a criminal history, or if they've identified themselves as being armed, or there's some sort of fact indicating that the person might be armed and dangerous, could be criminal history, could be something the person said, could be something that somebody else said, maybe the 911 call, the reason that they're there. Whatever it is, there has to be something. It's not just police get to frisk anyone they encounter. Absolutely not. That's why we fought the Revolutionary War against the British. There has to be particularized information. Here, I've seen nothing. I've heard nothing either in the 911 call or in the interaction that's occurred so far that indicates either that this guy is armed or that he is dangerous. Therefore, in my opinion, this is a Fourth Amendment violation in and of itself. Now, here we're pre-arrest, theoretically. We're in the investigatory detention phase of the Fourth Amendment, and it would be unreasonable to frisk this guy, to go through his pockets involuntarily because there's no information indicating that he's armed and dangerous. But theoretically, somebody could consent to this if it was voluntary. Now, listen to this.
Careful check.
It's a yes or no question.
Careful, check, man. Got anything in your pockets?
You did a safety check.
And this here is the worst kind of behavior from police, which shouldn't surprise you because they represent your government. They're agents of your government. So what they're doing is trying to go around this man's constitutional rights by asking for consent to search him. Could this consent be voluntary at all? They've already told the guy to put his hands on the car. He was given no choice in the matter. And then they already started searching him. And as they're searching him, then they ask him for permission. And they tell him he has a choice when it's very clear to him, or any reasonable person for that matter, that he has no choice. He's being coerced into saying yes here. And therefore, consent will be invalid. This is nothing but coercion.
All right, relax. You relax. I want to check your eyes real quick, okay?
Yes, sir.
Just relax, turn toward the man a little bit. Just want you to follow this pin with your eyes, okay?
We're not doing a public intox, so.
You don't want to do the test? All right, turn around, put your hands behind your back.
For real?
Yeah, you're under arrest.
Damn.
Solely in talk about intoxication.
And now we've reached the final stage of this Fourth Amendment analysis. This guy's being arrested right now. Is there an arrest warrant? No. Therefore, it's a warrantless arrest. The Constitution requires that police officers now have to have probable cause to perform a warrantless arrest. Therefore, they can't be arresting him now for something a 911 caller said that he did earlier. They have to arrest him for something that essentially they observed or they're observing during their interaction with him. So what they're saying that they're arresting him for, that they have probable cause for, is basically public intoxication. Take a look at the rest of the footage, and then I'll tell you what actually happened with this charge and whether or not that is a constitutional arrest and seizure.
As far as we just told you that we're not doing the public intox.
Looks like we are tonight. Relax your hand, man. Put together like you're praying there.
You're good.
You're good. You want two or?
Yeah, better.
Where's your other ones? Do you have two on you? That's fine.
I'll get them back to you.
You're fine. Trusty fingers.
I was walking back to my hotel, bro.
Yeah, you've pulled us out a couple times now, man. You just had too much to drink tonight.
Just going to the drunk tank for 8 hours.
You're a little bit peanut butter jelly as the president on all this.
Just a change and
Okay,
I
man.
got like $20, bro.
So no one's back in your hotel to take possession of you?
You're by yourself. One desolate Lone Ranger, I'll walk around and Chillicothe, Ohio.
I was literally walking back to my hotel, bro.
We get that. But kind of.
What is it, JD? What currency is this?
Thai baht.
Do what? Country Wolven Flat.
Thailand.
Thailand, I figured. The Thai part. It's good.
Put this in your, I'll put this in your wallet. I got some coins from other countries too here. Make sure I get those picked up.
Yeah, dude, I'm on the mission, dude. Like, I'm helping you guys out.
How you doing that? Because you caused us some issues tonight, man.
It's weird, the block is hot, bro.
What do you mean by that?
It's just like, I didn't even do anything.
Well, we got called to you because of your conduct inside of BP earlier. Apparently you were in some sort of verbal altercation. We weren't looking for you. Because you weren't here anymore when we got here, and now you're trying to come back. And so concerned that they're locking the doors on you.
Yes, sir.
And we're talking to you, and it's hard to keep you on one train of thought, man.
My dude.
Too intoxicated.
Anything on you, shoved in you, you're going through the scanner. If you got anything taking anything into the jail, it might be a felony.
I was just walking by.
So nothing else illegal on your person, nothing illegal on you, right? Because it will be a felony, it's felony conveyance. If you go into the jail, they have a body scan.
They're going to scan you.
I had a vape pen on me. You already get the vape pen?
It's in your pocket.
Yeah.
All right, man. We're going to do...
That's all I got. We good?
Yep. I'll head over to the... I'm going to probably get a statement from this guy.
Yeah.
He was wanting one of us to go in.
All right, so here's what ended up happening. They arrested Bud. They took him to jail for what you saw here, and he ends up spending 8+ hours in jail. And they just released him, I guess, the next day with no way to even get back to his hotel. So he has to walk more than 5 miles back to his hotel. But of course, this was all for his safety because he was clearly intoxicated in public, and he could have hurt himself, right? Instead, he had to walk 5 miles back the next day along an interstate highway. They charged him with disorderly conduct by intoxication. What happened with those charges? Well, because he really didn't commit any crime at all, the state had to dismiss those charges, and they did dismiss those charges under the guise of they had no intention to prosecute at that time. But if you look at what they charged him with, they couldn't have prosecuted him because it wasn't illegal. Again, disclaimer, I'm not an Ohio attorney. This seems pretty clear. So they charged him with section 2917.11, disorderly conduct, specifically subsection B2. And if you look at that, it says that no person, while voluntarily intoxicated, shall do either of the following. The second option is what they charged him with. It says engage in conduct or create a condition that presents a risk of physical harm to the offender or another, or to the property of another. So as far as what the police officers witnessed during their interaction with Bud, and at no time did he engage in any conduct that presented any risk whatsoever, either of physical harm to an individual or to property. They were simply responding to this vague Karen call from the gas station guy. And they didn't witness that. They didn't corroborate that. They didn't even talk to the gas station guy until after they had already performed a warrantless arrest for this charge, which Bud did not commit. So basically, they arrested him for being drunk in public, but oops, the Ohio law is not that simple. It doesn't just say that they can arrest you for being drunk in public. It says you have to engage in conduct or create a condition that presents a risk of physical harm to somebody or their property. That didn't happen, and that's probably why the state dismissed those charges. As you can see, we walk through step by step all of the constitutional violations that you see in this video. And no, nobody was killed. Some may see it as not that serious, but these are the small, quote unquote, small constitutional violations that police across this country commit on a daily basis, and they get away with it because look, the prosecutor in this case, instead of prosecuting those cops for violating the Constitution and breaking their oath, they just dismiss the charges against the guy and say, well, you beat the charges, but you didn't beat the ride. Stay out of our town. And that is the problem. It's corrupt from the top down. If there are any lawyers in Ohio who would be interested in filing a Section 1983 claim for Bud, he is interested in suing. Reach out to me and I'll try to put you in touch with Bud, or vice versa. And as always, thanks for watching. If you like learning about your constitutional rights, please make sure to subscribe both here and at the blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnBryanESQ, and also check out my Facebook page, which also has a pretty good following. My videos there have been going in the millions pretty much every video. So if you're on Facebook or your friends or family are on Facebook, make sure they check out my page, John H. Bryan, Attorney at Law. Remember, freedom is scary. Deal with it. I'll see you next time.